no matter what I ate, no matter what I did, I was in pain, no matter what. So health is everything, right? There's nothing more important than your health and being healthy. So you can do things in life. So you can make money, so you can have friends, you can go out, you can live. You need your health. I really wanted to talk about this, about self-care and health and my personal journey, what I've gone through with vitamins, herbs, nutritionists, acupuncturists, reiki, everything you can imagine. I feel that I've tried. I know there's more out there. I feel I've tried every single food eliminating diet you can think of. And it started when I was 7 years old. So I've had some friends just kind of tell me, oh my gosh, your journey, share it. It's very interesting. And it's hard for me to share it because it was, well, anyway, I'll just start. So I was probably 7 or 8 and my mom went to a nutritionist. My mom was very sick. She had, what was it called? Hypoglycemic. She put her on this special diet and she did muscle testing. So she would have her hold a bottle of vitamins and test her, and she'd give her whatever number. She'd pull her fingers and do muscle testing holding these pills. And I was young. I went with it. And some people really believe in muscle testing. I don't think it's the most effective. I think it's really good to listen to your health. But anyway, so that's what this nutritionist was doing. And it got to the point where she would start to pray, and then as many vitamins you needed would come to her. And it was just a little bit out there. But I think my mom felt so much better when she started on her program and her pills, and she was so charismatic and just really got my mom involved and her whole family. My mom had 7 siblings. She had 4 sisters that lived close and all told her, you're nuts, to this diet. And I was sick too. I was a very sickly child. I had 4 or 5 flus and colds during the year of school. I just remember I went to a jumping rope contest and jumped rope to marathon, I think it was, and I was sick for 2 weeks after, where all the other kids were fine. And I just was always sick and I was always in pain. And they said, oh, it's growing pains. And I was always in pain and couldn't figure it out. So my mom, having her hypoglycemia and she was in pain also, she was really hoping this nutritionist would help because, we went to doctors and it was 1970s back then. You just go home and take an aspirin and that's it. There wasn't as much nutrition awareness as far as what I went through. Anyway. So one time my mom choked on a jagged pill. It scared me so much I wouldn't swallow pills anymore. And it became a problem because I would go to school, grade school, with more pills, more vitamins in my lunchbox than food. And now I couldn't swallow them. So my mom would make a shake that I would drink. It would take me all day to drink this shake, blended up with pills. I remember it being grape juice and vitamins. I mean, yeah. Wow. Okay, this nutritionist told me I had bugs in my gut. You don't tell a little kid that. I remember it very vividly and freaking out. I have bugs in my stomach. So you go off sugar completely, you go off everything, anything sugar, to get rid of the bugs in your gut. So it was all about, way back in the day, there was a book called The Yeast Connection book. And the Yeast Connection book was all about no sugar whatsoever, no carrots, no starch, no anything. We know about it today, but back then it was really weird. And so I'm this young kid, I can't have sugar. Forget Halloween, forget Christmas cookies. And probably 9 or 10, I was completely taken off sugar. And it's just, again, back in the day, it just wasn't, nobody did that. And you know what? I still felt sick. I don't remember feeling good ever. Now, I grow up and I'm still seeking a way to feel better. So I'm a teenager, and those teenage years, I was so sickly. I was the weird person. I was the one that was just left out and kind of odd. And I was also an only child with older parents. And I just was kind of different. Not the popular girl. I think it was my third, I was probably a sophomore. I started having chocolate shakes. There's malts. I finally had my couple little friends, and we'd have malts, and I'd eat that, and I'd fall asleep immediately. During school, I couldn't function after eating that. Who can? But anyway, I was just really severe. It was really extreme for me. Plus, if you're not having any sugar at home, and all of a sudden you have this big, huge sugary thing for lunch, to be like the other kids, big crash. So I was just always sickly. And then finally, what I remember the most is I would find chiropractors, and they would have these holistic type ways to eat and to heal. And I'd go to the chiropractor, and I'd spend all this money. If I was ever working, I worked with the school districts when I was about 18. I started working, and I'd get sicker because I was working. I was doing, you had to go to a job, you had to feel better. So I would always get sick. Plus, I'm working at the school district, which kids bring in a bunch of germs, as we know. And so, again, sick all the time. I had a doctor tell me there were polyps in my nose, and then nothing was done about it. But every time I'd go to get tested or x-rays or anything because of the pain I had in my body all the time, nothing was ever wrong with me. Nothing. Most of my family, which I feel contributed to the isolation I feel now with my family, is they really thought I was a hypochondriac. They really thought I was this spoiled brat, just being a baby and making it up. And I do feel it carried with me. Your family kind of always sees you in this certain age, like you never grow up. Anyway, I found a very lovely, lovely chiropractor. We still talk. It's been 35 years. And kind of started on a journey with her of healing. But before that, going to all these different types of ways to heal, my mom she was kind of still connected to this nutritionist who we found out later lost her license. She was kind of, the quack nutritionist. But my mom, she helped her, and I'm glad. But my mom still had a lot of pain too. Anyway, I got into a company called Nutrition for Life. You know what? Let me come back to that. I'm not getting to this part that's really hard. So with all the doctors I went to and the nutritionist, the holistic type way, because I always had trouble taking medications, nothing would ever work, or I would get really sick. And medications such as just basically antihistamine. There wasn't any antidepressant type of stuff, which I can't take at all. But just, I had to find different ways because nothing was helping. The doctors would just give me antibiotics. I took antibiotics like candy my whole life. I mean, that does you in anyway. So, and right now you're probably going to say, oh, that's what made you sick. It was part of it, but there was more. So I went to different holistic practitioners that would take me off food. So I was off all nightshades, all sugars. Nightshades are the mushrooms, bell peppers, that type of nightshades. I would take tinctures, I would take all types of drops. I remember my friends would ask me for advice. I was like this nutritionist person, but it was always weird, and they thought it was weird anyway, so. I developed an eating disorder. And the eating disorder wasn't the anorexia or the bulimia. The eating disorder was being afraid of food, because I had been taken off all the corns, the carrots, every vegetable to figure out what would make me feel better. And I'd go through these extreme diets of, I remember before my wedding, and I'm jumping around with my age, but before my wedding, I went on such an extreme diet. I lost 30 pounds really quick, and it was just no sugar at all. I followed the Yeast Connection book completely, because if I was going to get pregnant, I didn't want to give my baby candida. It's so silly when I think of it now. But I remember I just ate whatever I wanted to right after my wedding day, deathly ill again. And so I started to get frustrated. My whole world was about what I can't eat, instead of what I could eat that would make me feel better. It was all about I can't eat. So I was really afraid of food. And I remember a chiropractor bringing me a cup of tomatoes, because I kept saying, I can't eat nightshades, I can't eat nightshades. Tomatoes are a nightshade. She said, eat those. They're vine fresh from my garden, eat those. For some reason, that's when it clicked, that I finally had a holistic health practitioner that was just gonna be real with me and say, you have to eat food, and just eat the fruits and the vegetables, and just eat. And even though we couldn't figure out, there was nothing that would take the pain away. After going on these extreme diets and eliminating one food at a time to try to figure out what's making me sick, it was nothing. And so guess what? It's how you think. That's what's making me sick. It's how I think. I have to change my way of thinking. You can imagine what I went through with that. The positive motivational tapes. I ended up joining Nutrition for Life, and that was when I got married. I was 29. No. I was married in 96. I was 26. So that was my wedding. I got sick. Then I met this chiropractor again who told me about Nutrition for Life. And Nutrition for Life was a lot about how you think and how you have to be positive and how you're gonna, the secret, which again, lovely, great stuff. We do have to keep that positive mind, but it's not gonna, you have to be realistic. And if one thing that all of this that I went through taught me was about reality and to be stable in what's happening right now. And I think that's what finally brought me to the Buddhist monastery in France, because it was about living in the moment. And living in the moment was the only way that I was going to calm my body. But also, no amount of calm, no amount of different foods or no foods or vegan diet, the keto diet, it's normal now not to eat sugar. It wasn't back then. I can't think of the modern day diets, but all of them. I mean, it was just, I went through all of that. And I remember Atkins. Nothing worked. And you feel better. It was always 3 months. 3 months I'd feel great. Oh, I feel good. But I'd still need the chiropractor, and I'd wake up stiff, and I'd wake up in pain, and I'd still, I'm in this monastery too, and I'm eating all vegan. And even though that was a shock on the body, the peace, the calm, the beauty there, the happiness I felt there. I was still in pain. I'd have to meditate laying down in bed where everybody else got up. So you can imagine I go through all these different diets, being afraid of food, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss, weight gain. And I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't go through the crash. I couldn't stay on one thing because I'd have to try something else because I was still in pain. So I'd have to try another diet, which puts my body in this constant flux, let's just stay on one thing. If you're going to eat that, just keep eating that. But I wasn't feeling better, no matter what I did. So when I hear people now say, oh my gosh, you have to, right now is the carnivore diet is working for people. And I mean, you talk to this once vegan to eat all meat. It's like, I can't do that. But it's helping people. And these different diets out there are really helping people. And that's great. It's not for me because there's something going on with my body that's not about that. It's about something I was born with that I didn't know. Nobody told me until I moved to Nevada. Now, I haven't been fully tested for it, but I'm certain I have Ehlers-Danlos, which is loose joints or your connective tissues aren't as strong, because it only makes perfect sense to me. And I did try one diet specifically for POTS and MCAS. I don't know a lot about it. I'm learning. But I do know that the red salt every day and making sure I have electrolytes has been a game changer. But I'm still in pain. I still go out of joint all the time. I need a chiropractor all the time. And then finally realizing that. So let's back up again. I came back from the monastery, again, extremely ill from the plane flight and getting back and having to change my diet and go back to meat eating because I went 3 months vegan. I probably went about a year after that eating vegan, or very little dairy. But then I just slowly went back to just a regular meals diet, the norm. Always try to eat healthy. I could never handle sugar very well. And then I meet my roommate, who I'm with now, who's now my roommate. And at first I liked him because he seemed healthy, and then he wasn't. And it was so fun. It was so fun to eat the frozen meals and get what did he drink? Some type of Red Bull or something. I mean, just terrible stuff that I never even knew about. I never knew about Crustables I never knew about any of the fun food, and I had fun. And I still felt the same. I really did. And then it was just, hey, I can just eat whatever. I'm still going to feel crappy. I still won't be able to have that full-time job. I don't care. I get to eat. I get to not be weird. But guess what? Now I was weird because now everybody's on these gluten-free diets. I was on gluten-free years ago. Jeez, what the heck? So, I guess I'm telling you, for one, is that you do have to find what works for you. But if things aren't working, don't let other people talk you into something. I know they mean well. And I've had wonderful friends just, hey, try this, or you should try this, and it's so hard to say, I've tried everything, because it's hard for people to believe, well, what do you mean you tried everything? I really tried everything that I could think of. There was not one page unturned of something new to try. And if I think of the list, I'll put it below in the description. And if you do like this video, if you've listened this long, please subscribe and give a like if you haven't subscribed already. But yeah, it's it's been a journey, and I did develop that eating disorder that I had a hard time to say, not the norm of what you're thinking, but really being afraid of food and having to constantly, what's this going to do to me? Is this going to do? And it really was just going through so much and figuring out that no matter what I ate, no matter what I did, I was in pain, no matter what. And if you are somebody that can eat the carnivore diet or eat I don't know, is Atkins a thing still? I've been so out of it. I've been eating my donuts. I'm just kidding. I always say donuts, but I do. Every Saturday I have a donut. If it works for you, I'm so happy. But if nothing's working for you, look into more things. More things are being understood, like the Ehlers-Danlos. I had heard about it. I didn't know what it was. Fibromyalgia is a big thing, and fibromyalgia I was diagnosed with in 2017. So, but it didn't click all the boxes like the Ehlers-Danlos does. I think I have both, especially now going to an acupuncturist. She really sees that I have both. Very hard to get those needles touching my body. That's helping though. It helps a lot. I need to keep calm. And that's hard. And I think that's why I was so attracted to the monastery too, because it's all about just, you know. And I'm not a calm person. I'm pretty silly. I don't have that calm nature. It's probably part of me that makes up this that kind of hurts. But I'm gonna be me. When I do say that I've tried everything, I'm not gonna too easily, if you tell me a certain diet to follow, I will probably say, oh, okay, and not talk to you again about it in a loving way. So hopefully that makes sense of why I do that. I like to stay open to things, but I think I have always gone back to the more Mediterranean diet. It's kind of a universal diet. And I love Bistro MD. Bistro MD is a ready-made food. It's just expensive. That has been really good for me. I just watch the sugar intake. I try to do the monk fruit and the stevia and the truvia, and xylitol is sweet. Xylitol is, they put in that in peppermint gum, right? Yeah. I've tried all the different non-sugar things. Gosh, if there is new, what else is there? Put down some other sugar things, sweet things that are not sugar that you know of. There's a lot more out there. It's so funny. There's so much more out there now that I'm sick of it. There is probably that magic pill now that I just don't want to take because I'm sick of those magic pills. You know, you just kind of figure out your own way. And I do have chronic pain. And I manage it, and I still have a donut once a week. So, and I'm really proud of that. I'm not afraid to eat anymore. Yeah, that was rough. And I got my belly to show it.